Imagine you're on a ramp in the Scottish Highlands, pre-flighting a machine that bridges the gap between general aviation and heavy transport category airliners. Looking out the cockpit window, you aren't seeing a plane, you're looking at a machine designed with the precision of a fighter jet and the ruggedness of a regional workhorse. In our first episode, we looked at the why behind this machine, the Swedish-American alliance. Today we dive into the what and the how. We're going to break down the technical anatomy that dictates your ground ops, the variant differences that change your performance MOV, and finally we will master the General Electric CT7 engines and the famous or infamous CTOT system. By the end of this video, you won't just be a passenger in the cockpit, you'll be the master of the machine. Let's start with the Walkaround. The Saab 330 is a product of military heritage. Because of Saab utilized techniques from the JAS 39 Gripen fighter program, they were able to use diffusion bonding instead of traditional rivets on over 40% of the aluminium structure as discussed last week. This isn't just a manufacturing trivia point, it significantly reduces weight and enhances fatigue resistance. The aircraft features 19.73 meter length and a 21.44 meter wingspan. One detail often overlooked by beginners in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is the sail height for the passenger and cargo doors. When you're planning your ground operations, you need to ensure your stairs and loaders are configured for these specific heights, or your regional workflow is going to look very unprofessional on the ramp. In the simulator, your choice of variant drastically changes your performance capabilities. First, we've got the 330A. This is the 9083 baseline, powered by the GE CT7-9B engines, producing 1735 shaft horsepower. It's a great entry point, but it can feel underpowered in hot or high conditions. Then came the 340B in 1989. This brought the upgraded CT7-9B engines and a wider horizontal stabilizer for improved stability during those tricky, gusty regional approaches. Finally, the 340B. You can spot this one by the extended wingtips or XWT, which improve lift. Inside it features an active noise and vibration control system using internal speakers to cancel out that signature turboprop drone. Here is where many virtual pilots get into trouble, the payload range trade-off. The Saab has a maximum fuel capacity of 5,690 lbs. However, if you load a full house of 34 passengers, reaching your maximum payload of roughly 7,500 lbs, you cannot carry full fuel without exceeding your maximum takeoff weight. For the 350B, that maximum takeoff weight is 29,000 lbs. Always check your EFB before engine start. If you're overweight, this aircraft will struggle significantly to reach its 25,000 foot service ceiling. So here we are in the EFB of Flight Simulator 2024. To calculate the weight and to make sure that we're not too heavy, we need to go to the aircraft icon, and inside the aircraft icon you will go to the flight performance. Inside the flight performance you go to the mass and balance, because you can currently see that the center of gravity is 24%. In this area you can do a few things. You can of course add passengers one by one, or you can use this large slider, also known as the quick fill, to set a certain percentage. By default, the pilot and co-pilot are already there, but you can see that the rest of the seats is quite empty. Now you can do two things. You can again select them one by one and then specify the weight, or you can use this large slider, which then populates the weight. What you will see when you're using the slider is that also the weight of the pilots kind of changes, because equally distributing the weight across these, say, people who are in the aircraft. And this is where something important comes into mind, right? So first of all, it's a preview of the aircraft seats. They have not been loaded yet because that's what you need to do with the load the aircraft button. In addition to that, you see that now the percentage MAC is also turned orange, which is, well, challenging. So let's reduce this a bit and see what happens, right? If we set it to 40%, you will see that it will become green, which is kind of good. This also is of course a dangerous thing because you can see that it now sets all the passengers with the same weight. So you might want to play around with this a bit. So you can select them and then adjust the weight. For example, you can set it to a little bit higher or lower depending on what you want. Or you can set it to 200 lbs. In total, you can set, I would say, a lot of passengers, right? Here's passenger number 1, and here we've got those other passengers. In some case, you will see some weird things popping up here. Ignore that because that won't affect much. In addition to that, what we can see is now that the total mass is this amount, right? We can see it over here. So this is the total mass compared to the maximum mass, and that's what you can see here. Because if you press the I from India, you can see the estimated ones as well as the maximum ones. The maximum ones, you of course should not cross them because then you will of course have a challenge. So you can see that the maximum takeoff weight is at 29,000 lbs. And we're currently at 23,000 lbs, so we're good to go. We even have some fuel, and you can see that the maximum fuel which we can take is 4,824 lbs. So let's do something more. Let's see what happens if we add some more cargo. Cargo is exactly the same thing. You can use that slider box or you can press this nice option and then add the few. Let's say that we add it to 150. Then we have added 150 of cargo. Again, make sure that you're still in that green area because if you're making the aircraft too heavy, then you can't take off. So this is how it can be easily configured, right? Both the seats and the cargo. Now for the last step, we're going to go to the view because the view, you can do two things again here. You can either manually drag it over here by pressing it here and then adding the plus and minus sign, or you can equally distribute it using that quick fill. If you prefer to see the view in LBS instead of in GAL, you can also change it over here by pressing this button, which makes it easier for you to read. You can see also the from India here, where you can see, hey, I've got both left and right the same amount of view, which is still good. Again, checking the total mass, you will see some things have changed because we add some more cargo, but we're still below that maximum takeoff weight. Now let's talk about the muscle. The GE CT7 is a 5-stage axial, 1-stage centrifugal engine. Think of it as a partnership between brain and brawn. The Digital Electronic Control Unit, or DQ, acts as the brain, commanding the hydro-mechanical units to meter fuel with precision. Here you see the inside of the GE CT7-9B, the power behind the Saab 330B. The first part, step 1, is the axial and centrifugal compression. That's what we talked about. You see the axial blisk? Here the air is pressurized through 5 axial blisk stages and 1 centrifugal impeller. Step 2 is the high pressure combustion. This is where the hydromechanical unit, the HMU, injects metered fuel into the compressed air for ignition. And then step 3, the power turbine extraction. In this step, the expanding gases spin the stage 3 and 4 discs to drive the shaft. Once the shaft is driving, of course the propeller gets running via the Hamilton Sundstrand gearbox. A common point of confusion for those moving up from smaller turboprops like the King Air is the condition levers. In the Saab, these aren't for fine-tuning your RPM in flight. They are primarily for flight cutoff, start-stop logic and propeller feathering. You'll find the 3 main positions: fuel off, start and max min. Finally, we have the CTOT, which stands for constant torque on takeoff. it is vital to understand that the CTOT is not an auto throttle. It's a bottom limiter. When the system is armed, it uptrims the fuel flow to reach a target torque once your power levelers pass the 64-degree mark, often indicated by a yellow stripe on the quadrant. To use it, you set your target torque on the pedestal dial, flip the switch to arm, and then advance the power levelers manually. This ensures consistent performance regardless of temperature or altitude. It even includes an automatic power reserve. If the system detects an engine failure during takeoff, it will automatically increase torque on the healthy engine by 7%. So we're on runway, ready for takeoff. But before doing that, we're of course going to use the constant torque on takeoff, also known as the CTOT. To do that, we're going to move into this area, because here's the CTOT system. So this is the dial, the CTOT dial, and this is percentage wise. So using this dial we can set it to, for example, 70% RPM, 80% RPM, 90% RPM, or even 100% RPM. Once you've done that, you of course need to do something with this magic button. Off simply means that the CTOT system will be completely disengaged. If you move it to on, then the system will maintain the torque value which you set up using this nice dial. Once the power levers are advanced past a certain trigger point, in most cases 64% NG, then it will start to trim down the engine, right? It will trim down the RPM. But there's one caveat. If one engine fails, it won't increase the power of the other one. And that's where that APR mode comes into play. That stands for Automatic Performance Reserve, and it's a Safety Plus mode, which is used for performance limited takeoffs. Normal operations, of course, both engines will run, nothing happens, and will hold the torque which you set using this nice dial. However, when one of the engines fails, the reverse part kicks in. What it will do in that case, it will make sure that the engine, which is, let's say, the one surviving, will get more power to ensure that you can continue with the climb. Now we've set this, we're gonna switch on this setting to APR, because that's the most secure mode. Now there's one important thing which you need to keep in mind, and that's these two buttons. These two buttons allow you to see, okay, hey, has that APR mode been switched on, yes or no? Because initially I was thinking, hey, this system doesn't work, but then I started reading a little bit more and trying out a little bit more, and then I figured out it works actually pretty well. So let's move the leveler now to the front position. So we're saying, okay, is that 64%? And then if you look here, you will see that it doesn't illuminate yet. So we need to push it a little bit further, and you will see that hopefully these lights will start to illuminate. I say hopefully because it's always a challenge to get this working. Here you see, now it says outer course high, LRPR, RRPR, right, left and right engine. And then you will likely see that it trims down the engine to that RPM which we did set up, 70%. Now if you would push these levelers further, it will start, between brackets, disengage. So let's first take off, right? Let's see what happens. But wouldn't it be cool if we switch one of the engines off while we're taking off? Well, yeah, let's try it. So we're gonna remove the parking brakes, gonna zoom out a little bit, and then you will see that both the APR lights are burning, which is good because then it will ensure that we're having enough power to take off. What we're gonna do, once we're airborne, we're gonna switch off one of those levelers and then switch it to a lower position to idle, and then let's see what happens. So then pull the stick a little bit back. And of course gears up. Not too steep. And then we're gonna do a trick. So we're gonna move this one to idle. So what you will see now is that the LRPM or the LAPR goes off, but you would expect that this system will kick in and will give us a little bit more RPM. However, based on my testing, it didn't work that well, to be honest. It could be that it's something I do wrong, but it could also be that there is an error in Flight Simulator. I'm still trying to figure that out. So now switch it on back, because else we're crashing. And you can see that the LEPR and RAPR are now active again. And this allows us to limit the RPMs, right? If we would say move it further, we can say kind of increase or decrease the power of the engine. And this is how the CTOT system can help you. The Saab 330 is an incredible hybrid. Military durability meets commercial efficiency. But before we wrap up, I have a question for you. The 340B Plus was famous for its quiet cabin. Have you ever flown on a turboprop that felt as quiet as a jet? Or do you prefer the raw noise power of the older variants? Let me know in the comments. We've covered the frame and we've mastered the engines. You now have the technical foundation to operate this legend with confidence. But the plane is just a glider without its systems. In our next episode we are diving into the secondary systems, hydraulics, electronics, and how to fix that infamous gas log bug that leaves so many pilots stuck on the ramp. But if you watch the first episode closely, you could already have seen the resolution. If this masterclass helped you, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series. Hope to see you back next week.